Good morning, my people. It's a beautiful day to learn about compound and complex sentences. For some of you, this might be a review, and for some of you, this might be new information. Either one, you need to know this. Okay? So when we talk about the sentence, we are talking about a group of words put together to form a unit. The unit is comprised of words, it's comprised of punctuation, and then also what we call clauses. Okay? So first we need to understand the clause in order to understand what type of sentence it is that we are constructing. So a clause is comprised of at least one subject and one verb. Okay? We have to have that combination in order to have a clause. There are two different types of clauses, the independent clause and the dependent clause. An independent clause makes a statement or asks a question that can act as a complete sentence. It is independent. There's a reason we call it an independent clause. It can stand on its own as a complete sentence. For example, the dog barks. We've got a subject and a verb, and it can stand alone as a complete sentence. A dependent clause is a little bit different. A dependent clause cannot act as a complete sentence on its own because it depends on another clause to complete it. It starts with what we call a subordinating word. If you know what the word subordinate means that you depend on someone else, or someone else tells you what to do. You are their subordinate. You fall under them. Some subordinating words or subordinating conjunctions are words such as when, because, if, whoever, etc. Meaning if I put that subordinating word in front of my independent clause, I now turn it into a dependent clause because it needs something else to finish it. When the dog barks, that is not a complete sentence on its own. You can hear it when you say it. When the dog barks, something else must happen, okay? So, all grammatically correct sentences have at least one independent clause. For it to be a grammatically correct sentence, it has to have one independent clause. And therefore, they have at least one subject and one verb. Because remember, that's how we identify an independent clause. It has a subject and a verb, and it can stand alone independently. A dependent clause, it also has a subject and a verb, but it has a subordinating word in the front of it so that it does not make it complete anymore. We know there has to be something else after this to complete it, and that's it. It needs another independent clause added to it. So the difference between compound and complex sentences. A compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses. Okay? I have two complete sentences joined together by either a coordinating conjunction. These are my coordinating conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. That's also called fanboys. And a comma. If I'm using a coordinating conjunction, I better have a comma there with it. Okay? Or I can join two independent clauses with a semicolon by itself, and that's a compounded sentence. For example, the pirate captain lost her treasure map, comma, coordinating conjunction, she still found the buried treasure. You notice on each side of that comma and coordinating conjunction, I have a complete sentence. The pirate captain lost her treasure map. She still found the buried treasures. Those are both independent clauses. They can stand alone as complete sentences. I could also join these two with just a semicolon without that coordinating conjunction. The pirate captain lost her treasure map. semicolon. She still found the buried treasure. That is correct as well. Okay. The complex sentence, however, has an independent clause and a dependent clause. So one of my clauses will have one of these subordinating words in the front of it, which will make it dependent. Here's an example. Because the soup was too cold, comma, I warmed it in the microwave. I warmed it in the microwave is my independent clause. This is a dependent clause because I've added that because in the front. Notice something. If I start my sentence with a dependent clause, I have to have a comma somewhere in that sentence, and it'll be after the dependent clause is done. Because the soup was too cold, comma, I warmed it in the microwave. And you can even hear the pause that goes there. You can hear it when you say it. Because the soup was too cold, I warmed it in the microwave. You feel that it has to have a comma there. If it was flipped, if I did the independent clause before the dependent clause, I don't need a comma. For example, I warmed it in the microwave because the soup was too cold. I would not need a comma there anymore because I've started with the independent clause. Okay? We'll practice that some more in class, but you need to know that rule. You need to know where to put the comma. Just like in a compound sentence, you need to know that before I use my coordinating conjunction, I gotta have a comma there. Comma, coordinating junction. Those are just rules you have to memorize. Okay, then you can join compound and complex sentences together to construct a compound complex sentence. The compound complex sentence has to have at least two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. And here are some examples. Though Mitchell prefers watching romantic films, he rented the latest spy thriller and he enjoyed it very much. This has a dependent clause, starts with though, independent clause, and another independent clause joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Another example, Laura forgot her friend's birthday, so she sent her a card when she finally remembered. Independent clause, followed by another independent clause, and brought together with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, and a dependent clause. When she finally remembered, cannot stand on its own. It's dependent on the other clauses to make it make sense, to make it complete. Okay, so with my compound sentences, I use my fanboys, which many of you know. Another word for fanboys is coordinating conjunction. I want you to learn that word. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. For complex sentences, we use, there's another acronym we can remember, Webos Words, okay? Webos Words are common subordinating conjunctions that create dependent clauses. Those words are after, although, as, when, while, until, because, before, if, since. These aren't all of them, but these are the most common. Webos, okay? You're going to get this page to put in your folder to keep so you can look at it. Subordinating conjunctions are grouped together by their functions, like what they do to make it a dependent clause. We have time. A lot of them create this idea of time, after, before, during, since, until, when, whenever, while. There's also cause and effect, as, because, since, so. Those are cause and effects. Opposition, although, even though, and while, and condition, as long as, if, in order, unless, whatever. Okay, these are some more subordinating conjunctions. But if you remember the Webos, the 3 A's, 2 W's, 2 B's, 1 I, and 1 S. This will help you remember, okay, these are dependent. They create complex sentences. Okay? All right. So, take some Cornell notes. Make a mind map. You are going to practice in class and using quill.org. Your sentence variety is important in an essay. If you have the exact same type of sentence over and over, your writing sounds and looks elementary. You need to know what kind of sentence I need to be able to use in order to mix it up and have a nice variety of sentences in my essays. So, in order to do that, I need to know how to make sentences, intentionally make sentences. Okay, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye now.